Welcome to Procurement Says No, Episode 3, with me, Rich, and Ed. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Rich. How are we?
Very fine, thank you. Very fine indeed. Jolly good. Right, so we have a couple of topics for this episode. We have a little bit about the news. We're going to talk about ESG. We're going to talk about suppliers and loving your suppliers and hating your suppliers. And we're going to talk about being a good boss or being a good boss in procurement. In the news. So, first major point of news is, of course, a fantastic podcast which reached number 19 in the Apple Podcasts management genre. That was a podcast called Procurement Says No, Episode 2. Woo-hoo! Rise of the Machines. So thank you to everybody for downloading that. Top 20. That's quite impressive. We then had a rapid fall out of the top 20, but, you know, that's okay.
Rich, was that sort of like 3 a.m. on Monday morning?
It was 3:03. I looked at it. But it was at number 19, so that's fantastic. Right, in other news, Egypt has warned that it may miss its seasonal local wheat procurement target of 4 million tonnes, because only 3.2 million tonnes has been bought so far. So come on, Egypt, one of the world's largest wheat importers. You need to try to reduce your reliance on Russian wheat.
I think you should ask the question, really, and say, have they missed their wheat buying target because they don't have enough wheat buyers?
In the FT, Silicon Valley chiefs urge Pentagon procurement overhaul. This is an open letter to apply pressure to the US government to open up its $900 billion defence budget to startups or lose the technological battlefield. The letter suggests that government processes for buying military technology was antiquated and drastically limited its access to cutting-edge defence systems. Venture capital investment into defence tech companies has boomed in recent years, so they'd like the US government to give them some contracts, please. That's in the FT. In SIPs, commodity analysts are predicting a huge shortfall of graphite by 2030, a key component in microprocessors used in EVs and also steel. Project Blue, which is a market intelligence business, expects that 700,000 tonnes of additional capacity will be required to keep up with demand. Mining coal bad, mining graphite good, it seems. Synthetic graphite could plug the gap, they say, but its production has high energy costs and is carbon intensive, so that's bad too. It's a lose-lose. Ed?
Yeah, Rich, I was thinking along the same lines, because we were going to talk about ESG in a bit, and I was thinking about this lithium mine or quarry that's being dug in Cornwall, and we're going to build a mega battery factory, I think, down in Cornwall or Devon. And I was just thinking, sort of like much heralded, but what's it going to do to the environment in Cornwall? I mean, it's not going to employ many people, is it? It's going to give us some sense of security in lithium for batteries, because it's a key component in car batteries and reusable batteries, etc. Surely that must be quite a dirty process.
Yes, I would imagine so, yeah.
But it's all right because it's for electric cars and they're not damaging to the environment at all.
No, it seems that they're not. I think they might be, mightn't they? But we shall see what happens to EVs in the future. In other news, and linked to what you just said, Eduardo, Ascent has a series of videos on YouTube digging into cobalt mining. You see what I did there? In the Congo, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, looking at responsible sourcing, taking steps to reduce child labour, creating traceability, etc., etc. 20 to 30% of the Congo's population relies on mining. So, we could do to Devon or Cornwall what we've done to the Congo, perhaps. All of these news topics seem to be related to ESG. Fancy that. And finally, in the news, the Deloitte Global Chief Procurement Officer Orchestrations of Value annual report, which is in conjunction with Odgers and Spend Matters. Lots of interesting stuff in there. Stuff about what CPOs are saying is important to them this year. I won't say any more. Get in touch with Odgers. Or indeed Deloitte.
Oh, was that an advertorial?
That was. Actually, that was.
I like the word advertorial because it makes me think of lavatorial. You never know. We might get some more earbud pod things from Apple.
Well, they haven't arrived, have they?
Well, there was unprecedented demand, wasn't there? You know.
Any other news?
Very small piece, and resonates with Rich here because he used to work for a big confectionery manufacturer. Mars Confectionery, making obviously Mars bars, have done a deal, some sort of deal with Tesco, and they're going to put their Mars bars back into paper wrappers, and they're going to be distributed through 500 Tesco stores. I guess to do a bit of a test to see whether they should go back to paper wrapped chocolate bars, which I guess is part and leads into our sort of ESG discussion. But quite an interesting move. They're sort of going backwards, if you like, to the way it was in our youth. They're testing it, I think, to see what level of waste they get and what effect it has on shelf life and so forth. Interesting move, like a dip in the ocean, isn't it? Really.
Well, it's good. It's good if they can shift everybody away from that, because that's a huge amount of plastic in the ocean. Yeah. Talking about the ocean. Thank you, Ed. Right. ESG.
Is ESG just bullshit? Okay. When you look online and look at ESG, perhaps we probably need to just talk about what it is in a minute. But if you put "is ESG a good thing?" you get a few comments on there from various parties and some big organisations. So Newsweek commented online, "ESG is a woke scam." I guess it was probably a question. They were trying to be contentious. Okay. And you see words like greenwashing and so forth on there. WordPress, there's something called Cynical Investor. They said specifically ESG is bullshit and is just a sort of destructive device of capitalism. However, if you go online, on Indeed, for example, as a recruitment company, there are 106 jobs in the UK today that relate to ESG. And if you go on our friends at Linked Up, there's 2,410 job vacancies that have ESG mentioned in them. But if you actually look at them, most of them might be paying lip service because it's actually a procurement director's job it's rolling.
It's happening. If big corporations really do care about the environment and people and the rainforests and all the little fishes in the sea, that's a good thing, really. And if big corporations are sort of being embarrassed into ESG, and that's causing them to invest in local suppliers or investing in communities, or, like Mars is doing, moving back into paper. Part of ESG is about understanding your risks in your supply chain as well, and making them more visible. So that's a good thing, I think. I think that the difficulty is if it becomes, as you say, a bit of greenwashing, and they're not doing it for the right reasons.
I think you have to perhaps look at it. So I've seen a survey that says 10% of millennials put ESG, put that first ahead of price and quality. So you can rack your price up, and you can still sell this stuff to 10% of the youth. In another survey I saw, suggested that something between 1 in 3 and 1 in 5 people, when they're buying clothing and FMCG products, put sustainability at the front of their thinking.
And there's lots of cash being made at the moment by consultants, aren't there? There's consultancies who are bringing all of this stuff into focus. So maybe that is a bit of greenwashing. But again, presumably it's better to give that cash, as I say, back to communities than give it back to shareholders, I guess, if you could think of it in those terms.
A lot of people would think it's just a scam to make more money for shareholders.
Oh.
Because you can just differentiate. I mean, hence the some of the negative comments. I think that you can differentiate your product and put the price up and make the quality worse, and everyone's a winner. Well, the corporate investor is, of course.
But then you go into the G bit of it, and then about financial governance, and that's not a good long-term strategy, is it? You've got to be authentic, and if you're inconsistent in the way you're applying it, or it's just obvious that you're sticking a badge over the top of it, there's stuff like we're buying rainforests in order to say that we're carbon neutral. It's like, well, not really. That rainforest maybe already existed, but unless you're planting a new rainforest, I don't know. If you're inconsistent, then it's not good. The Morningstar, an investment research company, has said that ESG funds are doing similar or better returns than traditional funds. So it is getting some traction, which is good.
Yeah, can I just peel back for a minute, Richard, just for the listeners, all millions of them around the world, thinking, what is ESG?
What is ESG, Ed? What does it stand for?
E, give us an E, environmental. Okay, so we know what that is: energy use, not dumping sewage directly into the ocean. It's quite topical in the UK for our UK visitors with the the travails of Thames Water and others. Environmental is, what it says really: destroying the environment, biodiversity loss to carbon footprint reduction, etc. And then we've got an S, social. Okay, so that's basically paying people a living wage, not employing children in a dirty environment that's probably going to kill them by the time they're 20. And then G for governance is, as you were just talking about, risk compliance, corporate governance, being ethical in the way that you conduct yourself. ESG, environmental, social, and governance. United Nations first talked about ESG in 2004.
Which is a long time ago, isn't it? Because I thought it was a relatively new term, but actually it's nearly 20 years old as a term.
Yeah, it was in a report called Who Cares Wins.
Oh, I see what they did there. But what about modern slavery? Is it just a white imperialist first world virtue signalling device, Ed?
Yes.
I think it's a terrible term, modern slavery. It's just a really weird term, modern slavery. It's like in vogue captivity, I was thinking, or perhaps fashionable servitude or up-to-date bondage would be other terms which you could use. It's a strange term, modern slavery. If anybody can think of a better term for modern slavery, it's people who are trapped in that vicious circle of modern slavery. It's a horrific thing, but calling it modern slavery just doesn't sound right.
So just on the modern slavery piece, I think I'd go back what you say. It's a sort of Western device where we're applying our morals and ethics and our sort of Western elevated position. We've got a house, we've got food coming in regularly, we're throwing food away because we've got too much of it, etc. And then we're sort of saying that somebody in, say, Bangladesh or the Congo that you mentioned, where mum and dad can't work and they're sending their, let's say, 13-year-old out to work.
Yeah.
What are we to judge? I find it a very difficult subject to sort of, deal with morally.
Yeah, when you don't really understand. Again, going back to cocoa and chocolate and things, a lot of farms, smaller farms, were family farms.
Well, I'm thinking that we apply our value and we say to somebody in the overseas territory somewhere that their children can't work and mum and dad can't work because they've gone through horrors in their youth, no medical care.
I mean, I was just looking at the Home Office released data in 2021. At the end of 2021, there were almost 13,000 potential victims of modern slavery in the UK. 43% of these were children, meaning approximately 5,500 potential child victims, and 31% of the people referred to were British nationals. So that's stats from the UK modern slavery. So so it's rife.
But that's a sort of different perspective, isn't it? There is a system in the UK to care for people who are disadvantaged, aren't there? Whether through benefits or whatever. So that's a slightly different scenario than somebody in living in poverty in Bangladesh.
God, this is too serious, isn't it?
It's very serious, isn't it? I don't know, but you can't.
What were they thinking on episode 3? It all became serious. And they spouted their out-of-date views on ESG.
And then they made a joke about modern slavery. They were banned from all platforms. Yeah, I think what we were talking about was that I think there's massive moral implications around the application of ESG, and there's certain bits of ESG that are legislative. So employing children in the UK is not allowed. It's part of the governance process, and that's deployed by the government, basically, isn't it? Within the organisation, the way that they're operating for a lot of the things that matter are legislated for, except for the environmental piece, really. And what ESG pledges do the utilities make? It does make you wonder, really, and it does make you wonder where ESG sits with some of these organisations, but we won't name any of them specifically because we don't want to be sued. So anyway, I've got a survey for you.
Where's it from, Ed?
The Cheetah Research Institute, or the Cheetah Institute of Research, have liberally stolen from the Hackett Group, so I will attribute this to Hackett, but we're interpreting it at the Cheetah Research Institute. And they had a survey a short while ago in 22 procurement key issues. There are 10 key issues for procurement. And guess, Rich, where corporate sustainability goals was? Was it number 1?
It must have been in the top 30.
Top 30. Didn't even get as high as our podcast. Anyway, it's in the list. It's after improving analytical and reporting capabilities.
Oh, so it's not taken that seriously then, is it?
No, not at all. So it's number 9. Number 1 was reduced spend. Number 2 was around risk in the supply chain.
Yes.
The only one worse than it, number 10, was increasing spend influence, which I thought would be part of reduce reducing spend. But anyway,
Cost. Yeah.
what am I? I've only been in procurement 35 years. But yes, so that was interesting. Enabling corporate sustainability goals, 9th out of the top 10. There were only 10, by the way. So
Oh, okay, right. So saying top 30, yeah. So let's talk about suppliers.
So what do we think of suppliers as procurement folk?
Well, Ed, I think supplier partnering is a very good idea. Or is it indeed just a smokescreen for screwing them down? I don't think so. I think it's getting back to the old Kraljic matrix, isn't it?
Ooh.
And once you determine who are your strategic suppliers, it's always very sensible to have good relationships with those strategic suppliers. The salespeople can become your best friend.
Sales staff are people too, aren't they? They're quite often decent people, but I think perhaps from a procurement perspective, we see them as the enemy, and they can't fathom us out.
Yes, could be. Yeah, they could become your best friend, or maybe they're just venomous parasites writhing about in a cesspool of their own mediocrity.
Have you not ever thought they might think the same way about us procurement folk?
Oh, I'm sure they do. But back to partnering and back to Kraljic. Yeah, building those close relationships. I mean, that's how I was taught when I remember when I first went into procurement. That was the big thing, all about partnering. And we were working with Japanese suppliers, and then when we were at PwC, the Kawasaki production system, we were taught all about the Japanese ways of building close relationship with suppliers, sharing capacity, jointly developing products, innovation, providing that sort of longevity of contracts, allowing suppliers to invest. It was all good stuff, wasn't it? I guess if there's a downside, it might be that you're taken for granted, and over time, I think you talked about this last time. If salespeople move on and you get a whole group of new people in the organisation, maybe they don't treat you in the same way, and they don't recognise the relationships that have been built in the past.
Salespeople and procurement people are quite similar in many facets of their characters, but then there are a few major differences, and I think good salespeople are very gregarious and very confident and very extrovert. I think procurement people are borderline introvert extroverts. We've sort of got to develop fairly thick skin, I think, and be quite awkward and prepared to negotiate and drop suppliers and all that sort of stuff. If you're good at what you do, I think there's lots of skills that are similar: engaging with other people, understanding your market, understand stakeholder, all that stuff. And then I think at the other end there's a bit of a sort of yin and yang, because they're sort of like, a salesman wants to be your friend and you don't want to be their friend because you don't need them to be your friend. So I think there's a whole psychological bagatelle going on with salespeople, and then you've got that whole ethical code sitting behind it. I had a situation now when I was at ICL. I dealt with a supplier and a guy called Barry Lowe, great chap, and he invited me to his wedding.
Oh, something not right about that.
And I felt it was really difficult. It was like, and then you think, oh, is it because I'm just a soft touch and he's like got one over on me or whatever? But he was just a genuinely nice bloke. He just said, I'm getting married and you're like somebody I know, or would you come along to the reception? I didn't go.
That's a weird one, isn't it? That is weird. You've had a senior role in procurement and then you move on, and I've gone from one industry to another industry, and the people who you thought actually had a great relationship, they maybe don't call you anymore because you're not of interest to them anymore. So it'd be interesting what Barry thought about that when you moved out of ICL.
I don't know. Well, we had a change with sourcing. We went from 3 suppliers to 2 suppliers for a major commodity, and we dropped his company. And obviously he was quite upset about that. But
did he return the wedding gift? Oh no, you didn't go.
I didn't even go, did I? But actually, a load of the procurement department did go to his wedding. The ethical bit sort of sits next to that relationship piece. Having a partnering set up with proper governance and all the stuff that goes with supply partnering, we don't need to bore people with talking about that, but that doesn't mean that you don't negotiate hard.
Oh no, absolutely, yeah.
And I think that gets lost somewhere.
Yeah,
which is like, well, I thought we're partnering on this. Oh yeah, that's right. You can make 27% gross margin, and we'll make 3%.
Yeah,
which is what happened. I think was it one of the automotive companies? Wasn't it Jaguar or somebody who went out to their suppliers because they did some analysis and found all the suppliers made about 10%, and Jaguar making about 2% net margin, and said to them, "This ain't on. We've got all the risk. We do all the design activity. You supply us with stuff, and you get loads of money, and we make hardly anything." So it's a funny one, isn't it? Really, but
no, I agree. Yeah, it's got to be that relationship's got to be two-way, hasn't it? Absolutely, genuinely two-way, and there's got to be that sort of mutual dependence. That was the key, wasn't it? The mutual dependency thing, wasn't there? Yeah. About both sides are equally indebted to one another.
Is that like the nuclear? That's like the nuclear arms race, isn't it? That's just the same.
Mutually assured destruction. Yeah. But in a positive way. I think it's good. I mean, and it's also good when you have that ability to have that sort of top to top discussion, isn't it? You can pick up the phone to the MD or the sales director. I remember when I was at a big facilities business, and we had a supplier who we hadn't paid. I mean, we were having trouble with cash flow, and that was then being pushed onto the suppliers as well. And they just basically said, well, we're not gonna grit the roads outside the Westminster sort of Parliament. Unless you make payment by 5 o'clock. And the fact that we had our relationship enabled us to get that all sorted out. But even so, that led us up to building a better relationship with them. When you need things sorting out, or when you need to get out of trouble, that can work well. The downside, I guess, as I said earlier, they can end up treating you as a cash cow, or like they did with that example from Jaguar.
I was just going to say, it's just one question though. You've been in procurement 30 odd years. How many salespeople have you become friends with?
Well, not have remained long-term friends, no.
I've got none. The people that I've stayed friends with, like yourself, I've known for yonks, are all in, procurement or in other roles. So I don't know, is there a bit of a sort of thing between procurement and salespeople that we're sort of like, the devil?
Well, once that mutual dependency goes, I suppose maybe that happens from a relationship perspective as well.
But then you being worked over by the salesperson, is that a cynical way of looking at it?
So they are venomous parasites writhing about in the cesspool of their own mediocrity then. That's what you're saying there.
Wearing shiny suits.
Beware the shiny suit. What makes a great boss / crap boss in procurement, Ed?
Oh, Lord. Well, it's sort of, you have to talk to the good one, don't you, rather than you can't talk to the bad one. What makes a good boss is clarity of vision, and then giving you a frame within which to operate. So this is what I expect of you. These are the boundaries of what you can make decisions on. Please come and ask me if you need help. No question is too stupid. That's the sort of good boss. And then with a bit of personality and not a sort of, flipping to the not so good boss. I've worked for quite a few people in procurement who were bullies and micromanagers and were worried all the time about you not delivering for them and therefore looking over your shoulder continually. And there's a few people I can think of, and I'm sure you could do the same without naming any names. Yeah, I think somebody who creates a sort of a box within which you can operate, where you know what the boundaries of your decision making and so on and so forth is, but also has that open door which says, just look, don't worry about it. If you've got even if you think it's a stupid question, come and ask it. Obviously, I'll be offended if you ask me the same question 5 times, but at least once. Somebody who's approachable. And then finally, authentic. There's so many bosses I've worked for, people I've worked with, who aren't themselves at work.
They need Snickers.
They do need Snickers, yeah. They just need just sort of be yourself, that be personable. And I've when I was at Exchanging and involved in running part of the business, I was asked if they could connect to my Twitter feed, and I sort of said to the comms person who led comms, I said, "Really, you're happy for my opinions to be associated with the company?" And they said, "Yeah." I said, "Really?" And they said, "Yeah, it's authentic."
Right. Yeah.
As a leader of people and a representative of the business and all that, as we've been as managers and directors and things, it was like really important that you come across an authentic person, because it has benefit to the team and the employees in the business and all of them, but it also has a benefit to customers that you're a real person. I think loads of people seem to put on a sort of, I don't know, were they beaten at public school or something? I don't know, or other horrible things were done to them. And then when they start to work, they think, you can't not like me now, or you can't not respect me because I'm your boss, and therefore I'm going to be horrible to you. Yeah. I think just be yourself.
It was wrestling a bear in the remove that led to leads to a lot of trouble, doesn't it? I agree. I think it's being a good boss, or having a good boss in procurement. It's the same as any boss, isn't it? I've written some things down. I said empowerment. So I think you've said the same thing. Providing air cover, providing direction, decision-making support when you need it, coaching, taking down barriers, a sense of humour, but also a sense of gravitas, respect both ways. And I also and I think this is back to the real person thing, someone that you could go and have a beer with and not feel weird.
Yeah, I like that.
And then the bad boss is sort of the opposite, isn't it? So, and I've had a couple of bad bosses, and they were either invisible or they ran away from decision making. They just didn't turn up to meetings when their decision was to be made, or micromanaging.
I've had a few people that have tried to verbally bully me to get their opinion across. You know what I mean? And I've had to sort of step into their space. I mean, physically, to get them to stop. You know, where they've just gone on and on and on and being really, I'm your boss. I'm telling you, and you think you shouldn't need to do that. And I've used it as a device, not to be violent, just to step closer to them to make them feel a bit like, oh, and back off a bit. Because it's just, some people are just bullies. But I was going to say, the one thing that I learned back at ICO when I first started to run some sort of, first line management courses, there was this management guru. He came up with the 1 minute manager. And the mantra was really simple. It was like 1 minute objective setting. So if you manage people, tell them what you want to do, what they need to do, be clear. 1 minute, and I changed this to bollocking. I think it was feedback giving or something. If people don't do things well, tell them straight away. Don't wait until their annual review to tell them that they're useless or they've got it wrong. And you remember on the 1st of January, they screwed up. Tell them immediately.
Yeah.
ESG is important. And the other one is, and most people don't do this well either, praise them. 1 minute praising. If you've got somebody working for you or you've got a team and they're doing a good job, tell them. That's great. I love that. I love what you do. I suppose the thing I'd add to that, if you are managing people, don't be scared of people who are better than you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Manager is a resource investigator, if you like words to that effect.
Yeah.
The idea of management is to get great people around you.
Yeah, exactly. Surround yourself with the best team, and then they do the work, and you just set the direction.
And you sit there with your feet up on the table, smoking a big fat cigar and your sheepskin coat. And that's my first boss. That's what he looked like. He had a sheepskin coat and used to smoke big fat cigars in the office, because back in the day, people could smoke at work.
Episode 4, what's it going to be?
So for episode 4, Rich and I are both on LinkedIn.
We're on what?
LinkedIn. We'd like to take requests of topics to talk about. Me and you have got about, I don't know, probably 75 years of procurement experience between the two of us. We can postulate on literally anything. Suggestions, please.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Suggestions on LinkedIn. Perfect.
Yeah.
We'll talk about anything.
Perhaps talk a bit about something like negotiation, perhaps.
Oh, yes. Good negotiation, bad negotiation.
Yeah,
yes.
Good and bad negotiations. You talked about Crouchick. Crouchick, I think, has just had his 40th or 50th anniversary, isn't he, since it was first published?
Probably 50, yeah. Probably 50 years. Was it a 70s thing? Yeah.
Yeah, so why don't we have a bit of a chat about Crouchick? Because I rarely come across, as a consultant, in my consultancy, guys, I've rarely ever come across anybody that uses it. Why don't we have a bit of a chat about the use or not of some of the tools and techniques?
Tools and techniques in procurement. Yes, very good. So negotiation and tools and techniques in procurement with a humorous twist. I like it. Any other thoughts? Let us know. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
What about supplier hospitality? The good, the bad and the ugly. Well, that doesn't seem to happen anymore. Was it just me? Does supplier hospitality still a thing?
Yes. I just got inundated when I was first working. It was all the rage.
Yeah.
A lot of areas it's disappeared, isn't it?
I think the 90s was big, wasn't it? And the 2000s. I remember someone who shall remain nameless a long time ago. There was suppliers who were giving out big boxes of booze at Christmas and turkeys and all sorts of hampers and things. A boot full of booze, or for our US listeners, a trunk full of beer.
Of liquor,
yes. And Christmas fare. And her boss said, we don't want to accept that. Give it to me and I'll put it in the boot of my car and I'll make sure it's returned to the supplier.
Corporate hospitality, cheap as crisps. Doesn't cost you anything, does it? To attend it.